The Great Wall of China. I mean, we've all seen the pictures, right? It's this absolute icon, one of the wonders of the world. But here's the thing. Behind that postcard image is a story that's just wild. We're talking about incredible ambition, but also just unimaginable suffering. And it's all built around this huge paradox that we're going to get into right now.
So to really wrap your head around the Great Wall, you have to start with the scale of it. I mean, this wasn't something they knocked out in a few years. Construction went on for, get this, 2,000 years. Just let that sink in for a second. 2 millennia. Entire empires rose up and turned to dust. Dynasties came and went, and all the while, they just kept building this wall.
And the human cost? It's just staggering. It's estimated that something like 500,000 people, 500,000 people, died building it. We're going to talk more about how that happened in a bit, but for now, just hold on to that number. It really changes what you're looking at, doesn't it? It's not just a wall, it's a memorial.
Okay, what about the length? It's absolutely mind-boggling. Over 21,000 kilometers. That makes it the biggest man-made thing on the entire planet, and it's not even close. To give you some perspective, that's like traveling from the northern tip of India to the southern tip and back 3 times over, and you still wouldn't have walked the whole thing. Just insane.
So this is what it all boils down to. This is the big question for today. You've got this incredible 2,000-year project that cost so many lives. Was it all worth it? Was it a masterpiece of engineering? A fortress that worked? Or was it, when all is said and done, a massive, colossal failure? All right, to even start to answer that, we've got to dig into the wall's identity. And believe me, it is wrapped up in some pretty amazing legends and mysteries. So let's start digging.
You see, in China, the wall isn't just a wall. It's way more than that. It has this deep, almost poetic identity. A lot of people call it the Stone Dragon. And that name, that single name, connects this giant pile of rocks right to the very heart of Chinese mythology.
And it's not just because it looks like a giant snake winding over the mountains. No. The legend goes way deeper. They say the actual path of the wall has a mythical origin.
So the story is pretty incredible. It says that a real mythical dragon flew across the country, and the path it took, that's the path they built the wall on. The workers just followed in its footsteps, so to speak. And you have to remember, in Chinese culture, dragons aren't the fire-breathing monsters we might think of. They're symbols of power, of wisdom, of protection. Basically everything they hoped the wall would be.
Okay, so that's the beautiful legend. But now, let's talk about the harsh reality. The truth is, the wall wasn't born from some magical dragon. It was forged in something much more human. Centuries and centuries of conflict and pure fear.
The whole reason for the wall comes down to this massive clash of cultures. So picture this. In the south, you've got settled China. They're farmers, they live in organized towns, they have wealth, they have goods. They stay put. But up in the north, you've got these nomadic tribes, like the Mongols, living in much tougher lands. For them, raiding the rich south wasn't just about being greedy. It was literally how they survived. And that constant threat, year after year, that's why they built the wall.
And it's super important to get this. The Great Wall wasn't just one big construction project. It's more like a patchwork quilt built over centuries. The very first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, got the ball rolling way back in 221 BC. But after him, dynasty after dynasty kept at it for 2,000 years. They'd add new parts, rebuild old sections, make it stronger, all the way up until the 1600s.
Okay, now we have to get into the human sacrifice, the cost that went into every single stone, every single mile of this thing. You're about to see why it earned a very, very dark nickname.
Over the centuries, we're talking about more than 2 million people being forced to build this wall. And these weren't skilled stonemasons for the most part. They were just regular people. Farmers pulled from their fields, common folks, and a lot of prisoners sentenced to years of hard labor on the wall. Basically forced labor on a massive scale.
And the conditions they worked in, just brutal. Can you imagine working 16, even 18 hours a day, and doing it in the absolute worst places on Earth, scorching hot deserts, freezing cold mountains? They barely had any food, very little shelter, and the guys in charge, often incredibly cruel. So yeah, people died. They died from exhaustion, from starvation, from getting sick, from accidents, in absolutely massive numbers.
And it was so relentless, they didn't even have time to bury the dead properly. So, in many cases, the wall itself literally became a tomb for the people who built it. And that right there, That's how it got that nickname, the world's largest cemetery. Think about it, an estimated 500,000 people buried right there, on site, in or next to the very thing they were forced to build. It's as much a monument to suffering as it is to achievement.
So, after all that time, all that engineering, all that death, did the damn thing even work? This brings us right back to that big question. Was it actually any good at its job?
I mean, on paper, it was an absolute beast. A fortress. We're talking about an average height of 23 feet, and so wide you could ride 5 horses across the top. It had arrow slits for archers, holes for cannons, and an incredible 25,000 watchtowers. These towers were like mini forts, and they let the guards send signals all the way down the line. Smoke signals during the day, fire at night, to warn that an enemy was coming. But here's the twist, the shocking truth. It didn't work. In fact, it failed. Over and over again. In the 1200s, Genghis Khan and the Mongols, they just went around it, bypassed it, and invaded anyway. In 1550, the Mongols broke right through it. And maybe the biggest failure of all, in 1644, the Manchus got across, and their invasion led to the complete collapse of the Ming Dynasty. Think about that. The greatest defensive wall in history couldn't do the one thing it was built to do.
So if it was a failure as a military wall, then what is it now? What does it mean today? That brings us to its legacy and what it's become in our time.
Well, for one thing, it's a massive tourist attraction. More than 10 million people come to see it every single year. It's one of the most famous landmarks in the world, a total global icon, and for China, a huge source of national pride.
And really, that's the key. The Great Wall's job has totally changed. Its identity has transformed. It might have failed as a military shield, but it has succeeded, big time, as a cultural symbol. It stands for China's epic history, its endurance, its strength.
So that leaves us with one last question to chew on. When you look at the Great Wall, what are you really seeing? Is it a symbol of glory and human genius? Or is it a massive tomb, a monument to the suffering of all those people who died building it? You know, the real answer is, it's both. It's glorious and it's tragic. And that contradiction, that paradox, is exactly what makes it one of the most fascinating stories on Earth.